What's up, y'all? It's Dr. Paul with a comic book mail call for Liberty Hill Comics, where I share my passion and over 40 years experience comic book collecting, investing, and conservation with you. The comic book I'll be showing off today is a high-grade Golden Age issue of my favorite, All-Star Comics, featuring the Justice Society of America. And I negotiated a price for this book with Lone Star Comics. I now have 40% of the complete Golden Age run of All-Star Comics, so copies that meet my buying criteria are getting more difficult to find each day. And if I want to keep making progress, I have to be satisfied with either fewer comic books each year or paying up more for them. But these decisions are all part of the hunt that we enjoy as collectors, so managing them is par for the course if you're trying to put together a truly epic collection. Today, we'll go over this book, the details, the market report, and my tips and tricks for making progress on your collection. This particular comic was offered on consignment by Lone Star Comics. As you can see, it received their regular superlative packing job. I'm happy to say that Liberty Hill Comics has been nominated for the 2024 Comic Book Community Awards for YouTube content creators. And if you enjoy the channel, please hop on over there and vote for us. We'd really appreciate your support, and I'm humbled to be included in the list of great comic book content creators. I'll put a link in the video description to their page. Also, our weekly comic book conservation live show airs Sundays at 8:35 Eastern. I hope to see you there in the chat as I discuss everything comic book conservation related with my co-hosts Phil from Phantom Restoration and Larry from Flying L Comics. Boy, when Lone Star sends you a book and it's triple boxed, it really does take a minute to get into it. But I feel like the wait was worth it. Look already. Man, that's nice looking. An 8.0 from the Golden Age, and with such vibrant colors. What a beauty! Well, as I like to say, what is it and why do we care? This is All-Star Comics number 32 in CGC Universal 8.0 with off-white to white pages. It's the December-January 1946-1947 issue, published in the Golden Age of comic books in the post-war era. It's written by Gardner Fox and illustrated by a team of artists, including Martin Naydel, who drew this striking cover. It includes the return of the Psycho-Pirate, as CGC denotes on the label. For those not familiar, the Justice Society of America were the first superhero team in all of comic books, and some believe they were the greatest superhero team to ever grace the pages of funny books. When comics fandom got started in earnest in the early 1960s, putting together a complete run of All-Star Comics was a rite of passage, considered a must for anybody who considered themselves a serious comic book collector. All-Star Comics featured the JSA in 55 issues, published over 11 years, from their first appearance here in issue number 3 in 1940 until issue number 57 in March of 1951. All-Star Comics had 3 writers for the entire 11-year run. Gardner Fox, the first and greatest of the JSA writers, wrote 2/3 of their tales, including their introductory story here in All-Star number 3. All-Star was published by All-American Comics, which was co-marketed with National and Detective Comics under the DC bullet at the time, and later merged into the company we know today as DC Comics. All-Star Comics is one of the most important Golden Age comic book series, and it has several big keys issues, in addition to the first appearance of the JSA, including the first female superheroine in all of comic books, which is Hawkgirl in issue number 5. The first time Batman and Superman meet, which occurs in issue number 7, and the mega key of the series, the first appearance of Wonder Woman in issue 8 by William Moulton Marston. It also includes first appearances of JSA villains, Brainwave in issue 15, the Psycho-Pirate in issue 23, the Wizard in issue 34, Perdegaton in issue 35, the Injustice Society in issue 37, and the Alchemist in issue 42. In issue number 57, the last issue, we have the first and only appearance of the villainous Key, as well as the last Golden Age appearance of Dr. Midnight, the Flash, and Green Lantern. All three would be absent from comic books for over a decade after this comic was published. All-Star Comics is one of the most important and influential of Golden Age comic book series and is highly sought after by Golden Age collectors. It's my favorite Golden Age title, and one of my life goals is to complete the Golden Age run in mid to high grade. With that intro for context, let's get into issue number 32, written by Gardner Fox. The splash page is the same image as the Martin Naydel cover, as is often the case with the Golden Age issues of All-Star. Roll call is given as Hawkman, Dr. Midnight, Green Lantern, the Atom, the Flash, Johnny Thunder, and Wonder Woman is listed as the secretary. Gardner Fox had introduced the Psycho-Pirate in issue 23 in November of 1944, and this is his second and only other appearance in the Golden Age, about 2 years later in October of 1946. Gardner Fox did write one other Psycho-Pirate story during the Golden Age, but it was never published and surfaced many years later after being saved from the incinerator by a young intern, Marv Wolfman. It was published in 2000 by Roy Thomas in the All-Star Companion. Our story opens with the Psycho-Pirate in jail and challenged by fellow inmate Big Mike, also sent to prison by the JSA, to prove the power of emotions. Accepting the challenge, the Psycho-Pirate and his cellmate are soon accomplishing a jailbreak. After stealing a swell car, impressed by the Psycho-Pirate's brains, Big Mike tells the Psycho-Pirate that he still has a crew on the outside and that they need a leader. He proposes the Psycho-Pirate leads his crew in a crime spree, and the Psycho-Pirate agrees. The crime spree is a smashing success, but Big Mike is obsessed with revenge on the JSA and has his crew on the lookout for Johnny Thunder, because Johnny is the only member of the JSA whose identity is publicly known. Hawkman, as chairman, calls the JSA to order for the regular meeting, and team discusses the emotion-based crime spree and how it's the obvious work of the escaped Psycho-Pirate. But they unfortunately have no leads. Johnny Thunder is tardy for the meeting because we learn that Big Mike's men did indeed find him. Unfortunately for the Psycho-Pirate, Big Mike's men tried to lure Johnny into a vacant lot with the old dropped-a-wallet gag. Johnny didn't fall for it, but had gum on his shoe, which caused him to limp into the JSA meeting late with the wallet on the bottom of his shoe. Upon inspection, the JSA learned that the Psycho-Pirate has a number of crimes underway, the plans of which were laid out on notes in the wallet. Assuming the wallet was a challenge from the Psycho-Pirate to the JSA, our heroes vow to stop them. In fact, the challenge came from Big Mike, who plans to destroy the JSA one by one as he now knows where they will be. Once getting the Psycho-Pirate on board with his plan, the Psycho-Pirate sets to work with him, and we see Johnny is plagued with self-doubt over his inclusion in the JSA, making him an easy target for the Psycho-Pirate. Hawkman's chapter is penciled by Chester Kozlak and deals with pride. The Hawkman overcomes overtures to his own pride while saving an opera star and taking out 4 members of Big Mike's crew, although the Psycho-Pirate himself escaped. Dr. Midnight's chapter, penciled by Stan Ash, deals with ambition. Dr. Midnight convinces geologist Jim Handley not to give in to his baser emotions and steal from the other members of his platinum mining partnership. In doing so, he foils another of the Psycho-Pirate's plans and captures some more of Big Mike's men. Incidentally, in the early golden age of comic books, Dr. Midnight was often referred to as the Cape Crusader, a moniker usually applied exclusively to Batman these days. Green Lantern's chapter is illustrated by his regular artist over at All American Comics, Paul Reinman, and deals with envy. Jewelry cutter George Molan is duped into stealing gems from wealthy clients by a confederate of the Psycho-Pirate, planted to stoke the flames of envy in George's heart. The Green Lantern exposes the plot and lights the way for George to do the right thing. More of Big Mike's men are rounded up, and Psycho-Pirate is green with envy at his rivals in the Justice Society. The Adams chapter is illustrated by Chester Kozlak and deals with curiosity. The Psycho-Pirate has targeted Midwestern University PhD student Eddie Morgan, whose curiosity no doubt made him a great student of the rare documents he studies. The Psycho-Pirate had a fellow student question one of Eddie's interpretations of a rare manuscript, and in his quest for knowledge, he needed to know if he had been correct. Having late-night access to the rare documents section of the library, he would seem the perfect fall guy for the Psycho-Pirate's heist, but the Atom intervenes, and more of Big Mike's men get apprehended. Johnny Thunder's chapter is illustrated by Stan Ash and deals with the emotion of humility. At Showman's training gym, the Psycho-Pirate has Oily Olsen buy up Stumble Spinard's boxing contract with the plan to get him some easy fights with pushovers to build him up, then get him a fight with the champ, in which the champ would be drugged. Then Big Mike's men can clean up, betting on Stumble. But Johnny has the water tested and talks the champ into playing along just long enough to flush out the ne'er-do-wells, and his thunderbolt takes them to the authorities. The Flash's chapter is illustrated by Martin Naydel. Dan Soames, radio engineer at Elite Laboratories, is brilliant but quick to anger when his inventions don't pan out. That made him an easy target of the Psycho-Pirate, who planted a confederate at the company to convince Dan he was being taken advantage of and that he should sell his plans for radio-powered automobiles to his accomplices. But the Flash arrives just in time to convince Dan he's been manipulated, and another of the Psycho-Pirate's plans are foiled, and the last of Big Mike's men are rounded up. Then it's just a matter of mopping up Big Mike and the Psycho-Pirate himself, which isn't much work for the superpowered members of the JSA. All-Star Comics number 32 is a pretty rare book. There are only 59 universal copies in the CGC Census, with a median grade of 7.0. At 8.0, this copy ranks at the top 27th percent in the census. So what is this comic book worth? It's difficult to place a fair market value on this comic because they trade hands rather infrequently. This copy was listed on Lone Star Comics' website for $1,600, which I thought was too much, given that the last relevant sale seemed to be a 7.0 that sold on Heritage for $840. It was a consignment item with no make an offer option, so I wrote Lone Star customer service and told them I thought the price was too much, and did they think the owner would take a reasonable offer. They reached out to the owner, and he agreed to enable the make an offer feature on their website. We settled on $1,350 before taxes and shipping, which I thought was perhaps a bit over fair market value, but not outrageously so. There had been, after all, a sale all the way back in 2014 for an 8.5 that went for $1,315 plus taxes and shipping on Heritage. Since making this purchase, however, a 7.5 sold on Heritage for a paltry $660, so perhaps I overpaid a bit for this 8.0. That said, there's no telling when another will come to market, so I have no regrets in my purchase. It's an embarrassment of riches to be the current caretaker of this piece of American and comic book history. I understand just how fortunate I am to be able to put this sort of capital into a funny book, believe me. For those of you interested in reading the Justice Society of America's Adventures in All-Star Comics with a more modest investment, there are a number of less expensive alternatives. There's digital, of course, and for the analog folks, I recommend the beautiful archive editions from DC, the first of which was published in 1992. I hope you enjoyed this video on this Golden Age all-star comic featuring the JSA. By adding this beauty to my collection, I'm one step closer to my goal of completing the original run. What are you collecting, and how close are you to completing that collection? Are you a completionist, or do you just go after keys? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Till next time, happy hunting and take care of one another.